I believe a human being, you start from day one with that need to understand what is absolute truth. Absolute truth is the total explanation of everything. Let's not just talk about absolute truth. What is absolute truth? It's the total explanation of everything.
Don't you have to be God to know that?
No. Why? That's what the church tells you. They tell you, you know what the nuns used to say,
no, but
don't think about these things, you can go insane.
That's, but that's...
It's like, don't masturbate, you could get cancer.
The church may say something like that, but the fact of the matter is that our history so far has brought us, as you just admitted yourself, a very small percentage of the overall picture of all that is, the absolute truth of all that is. Maybe we can just get that far.
You don't know that.
Inch and inch and inch.
So what?
But do we have to keep plodding and trying? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's what it takes, but you don't know. I mean, absolute truth may be right around the bend. I mean, we have people talking about, there are books out there that will tell you that very soon we're going to know everything that we need to know. So we're getting close. Do you know what the 20th century is to human history? I mean, this has been an incredible century. Compared, the last 30 years, we've learned more than man has learned in the last 1,000 years, 2,000, 5,000, 5 million.
Last time we spoke, you said you were going to try to get through Einstein's special theory of relativity.
I'm halfway through it.
Uh-huh.
And it's.
Are you doing that with a native, a popular guide or something,
No,
or are you trying to understand the mathematics?
He wrote a book. And it's not so bad actually. And I still don't.
A popularized version of the special theory.
But it's
his own.
But I don't want to get into that because it's. I don't totally understand it, and I've gotten certain things out of it, but it's not irrelevant to what I have to say. I don't really want to discuss Einstein.
You have a special.
Wait a minute. Can we just get back to a point that we didn't really? I wanted to get to it because I'm talking about the need for absolute truth. I think that's a piece of wisdom that a lot of people don't know that they should have. Somehow, it doesn't come to some people. A lot of wisdom doesn't come to some people. But if you stay open, always willing to change, and you can grow by listening to other people. I have grown a lot by listening to other people. And I think that a foundation force in every human being's life is to have the need to know absolute truth. To have the need to try to know that the truth that will explain what you are and who you are. And explain everything. Do you know how, and we're getting so much closer to everything, so much closer. Yes, we only know 10% of matter. There's 90% they call dark matter. But we're coming closer. We're building reactors and all that. We're building larger reactors. They're building the largest reactor in northern Chile. Not the reactor, they're building the largest telescope in northern Chile that's going to be, I think, 50 times more powerful than the Hubble telescope that's circling the Earth. And be able to see what they call to the beginning of the Big Bang. So when you have that need, every experience you try to draw something new of the puzzle that you're trying to construct. This puzzle called absolute truth. You're trying to fit this puzzle in, and every time when you find some little piece of information, you put it in the puzzle. You know, and you're trying to, when that puzzle's full, you have absolute truth. You're trying. You're doing the best that you can. But you're not starting dejected and say, well, we can't do that. You're a moron for wanting absolute truth. That's impossible. You start out like that. I mean, people have laughed at me. I'm a moron because I want absolute truth. No, well, I'm a hopeful person, positive, hopeful person that wants to understand everything. I mean, is that something bad about that? Or should I be is the glass half empty?
Well, there's also the question of how you proceed on the quest for absolute truth. At some point, I think near the beginning of your book, you talk about each individual being sort of a priest unto themselves.
Very important. Very important.
Which was almost, I'm sure you bit your tongue writing that because you're not too fond of priests, but if everybody can be their own, I guess it's okay for you. But what I really wanted to ask you about that is, why must the search for truth, the pursuit of truth, be such an individualistic pursuit, which is in a way something of a paradox in the whole concept of your thinking, because you're saying, let's strip away identity, but then you're saying every individual has to look for truth themselves. Why can't the search for truth be something of a more participatory, social, collective enterprise, where everybody can do it together, and that search can bring them together, rather than everybody separating in their own room? Is it so dangerous and revolutionary that you can't do it together? You can't even talk about it, but be alone and do it?
Okay. If that works for you, if you need a group of people to look for truth, and that works for you, go for it. For me, I don't need to. Well, I don't really need to be in a group of people, because everybody in that group has a different desire, different sense, different need, and all of a sudden, there's no longer that individual. Is that the group becomes the individual? That's a much harder deal. Then you get envy and social struggle and who's the boss and who's the leader and who's the follower, and you don't need all of that. There's you and the universe, and as they say, cut out the middleman.
But a society already exists. The group already exists. You're living in it. An American society in New York. It has a certain set of beliefs and ideas about what the truth is, the foundations of which the society, on which foundations the society is built. Doesn't this whole thing have to transfer to a collective eventually, sooner or later, anyway?
That's not your job, unless. Well, in my case, I am attempting to report back to my society my thoughts, my conclusions, my findings. I'm reporting back to them.
But a totally deluded society.
I don't need to hold hands with Jane and Jim and Jane and go up the hill to find God. I could do that. I want to do that by myself. As I say, that's not an absolute rule as far as I'm concerned. If you feel better doing it as a group, I think you're limiting yourself, because you're bringing in all of the prejudices and limitations that a group imposes, and you're not you're forgetting, you're losing the freedom of just being at every moment. You can't be alone as an individual in a group. You have to be within the rules of the group.
Exactly.
Why would you want to put that on yourself? You don't need them. There's you in the universe. You don't need that. I mean, you can get some of the information from society and all, but you don't need them. The priests set that up. This is from day one. They say you can't get married unless you go through us, and if you have sex without us, you're going to hell. That's right. That's.
But the way you describe the individual's relationship with society, in the ideal Machiavellian atomic conscious situation, you say this: we afford ourselves the benefits of living in society, but do not allow society to rule us. And in appreciation for the benefits we have derived in living society, we've got to give back something, you're saying.